But there's just so much good news and interesting stuff going on with the Mariners as GM meetings get started today. First name that we've really heard of substance was John Morosi connecting them to Marcus Semien. Why do you think that's the first target?
Well, it's actually a name. I mean, we've heard quite a bit for some time. I think it's a target because it's a great fix. And, even before, you hear yesterday he comes out as an MVP finalist, which there goes that price tag. But he was somebody that really caught the eye pretty early in the season. And he's a player that the Mariners have seen up close for a long time. And they've seen the development, they've seen the defensive development of him, and now he's adding the offense to that. And it just seems like a great fit. I think primarily because he did play second base this year. It wouldn't appear that would be a problem moving him to second base. And I think there was some intrigue if you go a year out on how they would handle this. Would it be J.P. Crawford who was moved? We didn't know, at that point. And I think what we saw from Crawford this year solidified that they don't want to move him out of position, both for what he brings in the field and the leadership as well. You don't want to mess with that. So I think Semien is a good fit in that regard, and I also think he's a good fit in that he is a West Coast guy. And I think that, you hear of all these players that don't want to come all the way to Seattle, that don't want to be on the West Coast, that prefer the big lights of the East. Well, doesn't it kind of behoove you to really go after those that, you do have that advantage with? And I think that plays a little bit into it, too. But he just seems to be the perfect fit for what they need.
He had really good years in 2019 and 2021. I mean, both years over 7 WAR and over 800, well over 800 OPS. He doesn't have that many other seasons where he's really put up huge numbers. How much of a concern would that be? He's 31 years old. He'll play this year at 31. You probably got to give him a 5 or 6 year deal. What's your concern level with that?
Well, again, I think because you were able to see him up close. Had he been in a different division or had he been in the National League, I think you would probably have more questions, but they've seen so much of him through the years, and they've seen him with his struggles. They've seen him, how he's worked his way out of the struggles, and they saw how he developed with the defense, in particular with Ron Washington and the work that he put in every day. I mean, this was a guy that we literally saw out with the A's early, doing the early work day after day after day. It's similar to what we see with a lot of the guys right now that they have Perry Hill, but at the time, that wasn't something that you saw. So I think they know more about him than they would so many other players, and I think that probably plays a large part in it.
All right, so let's say they get that done. Maybe they even get it done early. Maybe they even get it done this week. All right, we'll be incredibly optimistic. What are you doing next if you're Jerry Dipoto?
I think that I am probably turning my attention to starting pitching. Offense, you're going to need more offense. There's no question about that. You still have what do you do at third base, and you still also have some questions about what you do in the outfield if you're adding a center fielder or not. Are you looking for somebody that is going to be an everyday part of a 4-man rotation in the off season, or are you looking for somebody that's more going to be a defensive guy and part of your bench in that regard that you won't need to play every day? But I think that getting lost in when you look at all the names that are out there is that pitching. And starting pitching, they got a lot of holes in that rotation, let alone a bench that they need to build. You've got to be 8, 9, 10 deep as far as your rotation goes. So I think that would be my next priority.
You think there's a big name lurking in the starting pitching market?
I think that one's a little bit tougher. And I think that, when you look at this off season, and it's going to be so intriguing to me, I've said before, they can cast such a wide net, and that goes both for how they add the offense and how they add the starting pitching. You need at least one starting pitcher. But what is the balance going to be with all of that? Are you going to hold off if this market unfolds the way that they think it is going to unfold? Are you really going to hold off until after the holidays or, 2 weeks in February when everything everybody goes berserk and you can take in so many different players, but are you targeting something specific in that regard? And I think that we're going to have to wait and see how that plays off because that is going to have, I think, the most impact on what we see them do, what is actually available, what is going to sign, how is this going to break. So I think they stay pretty flexible with that, but I would imagine that they are looking for, I don't think so much one of the big marquee names.
You know who I like?
They could make a run at one.
How about Verlander?
Who?
How about Justin Verlander on a short deal?
Okay. Yes, that is who I was thinking this morning.
Why not? I mean,
Yeah.
he was throwing mid-90s yesterday, and that's expected to continue to go up as his rehab continues. It's a short 1, maybe 2-year deal. Yeah, you got to spend a bunch of money on him, but you've got it. And it helps you bridge the gap until your young kids are ready. And by the way, who would be a better person to have in that room with them than Justin Verlander?
No, I agree wholeheartedly, and I don't think it'll be 1 year, and I don't think it'll be 1 year of an option. I think it will be multiple years. But a lot of what I just said with Marcus Semien and how you've seen him work, you know how Justin Verlander works. And I throw out the age. You know, he is just absolute madman when it comes to conditioning. And much like how we talk about Mitch Haniger trying to stay ahead of the curve in everything you can do to stay out there, Verlander does that.
It's going to be like Russell. He'll come back better. Yeah, it's just like Russ. No big deal. Just get a little surgery and just come back better at age 39. No one's ever worked as hard as Justin Verlander has.
But he's done it before. You know, we've seen him come back from surgeries better as well. And we know that the Mariners, and it could be attractive to him, and he saw how, I think he made a huge transition when he went to the Astros and saw how they handled their starting pitching and the changes that they made. And, he bought into what they did with Brent Strom, who's now gone, Astros pitching coach. The Mariners are so heavily invested into that side of the game. He's into the analytics and all of that. It could be an attractive spot for him. And again, the work ethic, I think that is what you would want to see. So that it was funny because who was it? Jeff Passan, who I think was suggesting Max Scherzer a few months ago. And I've got questions about Scherzer after what we saw from him in the postseason. And he's getting up there too, and he also puts in the work. But now there's that question mark in that he wasn't able to get through the postseason. It probably was innings, but you don't know. The Mariners know a lot about coming off Tommy John surgery, and so I would feel better about Verlander at this point than I would Scherzer.